Hey everybody! So what we're going to do today is, let me actually lower the bow. Since in the previous video we determined that the Matthews was indeed out of tune, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to get it back into tune. Pretty commonsensical stuff, but it helps to have somebody go through it with you just to kind of get an idea of what you need to do. Now, one thing to note about a Matthews bow is that they're very easy, very simple to tune. So it's not going to be this simple on every bow, but it should be something you can piece your way together. We are indeed going to have to press this bow, and for that I've got the Bowmaster bow press. Just a very simple idea. Works very well on solid limb bows. I also have an Apple bow press. However, I found that Apple's bow press for the solid limb bow design bows has a little bit of trouble pressing enough so that you can do what you need to do with the string and things of that nature. It seems to put a lot of stress on the limbs. Split limb bows, it presses just fine, presses great, but the Apple bow press doesn't work really good on solid limb bows. I don't know if I'm not using it right or what the deal is, but I haven't had any luck with my Elites or any of my Matthews. So I'm not going to video too much of me pressing the bow, but I am going to show you what I need to do with the bow to get it back in tune. So indeed, you can tell that, actually let's go to the other side. There we go, it'll be a little bit easier. You can tell that the cable, the cam needs to rotate this way, okay? Because my axle to axle length, as we discussed previously, is too long, I'm actually going to shorten one of the cables to pull it back into tune, okay? So this cable here comes around the back side of the cam. If you're holding the bow upright, it comes around the back side of the cam. Alright, if I tighten that, it's going to further put it out of tune. So I obviously know that I need to tighten this cable here to pull that cam around, and thereby shorten my axle to axle length. And I believe that when I shorten my axle to axle length, indeed the brace height will come back into tune. So real briefly, I will video getting the bow press set up and everything. This is going to take some time though to get situated. I love this Bowmaster bow press. It's an extremely simple design, but essentially what you have on it is you have locking grommets on it to where you can slide your set brace here to the specific bow. So this bow will accommodate a number of different bows, and it just kind of locks into place. So what I do is I usually just set the one that doesn't have any of the locking grommets, I set that in first. That would be this one here. As you can tell, there's no locking grommets on the braided steel string. Now, just so you don't damage your bow, the bow press does come with leather guards on it so that you don't damage the V spot on your bow. Hopefully you can see those on the video. But I'm just going to set this through the split limb. Be very careful because you don't have the leather piece in there yet. Most of the time your leather piece, your brace that actually presses the bow, holds all the force, won't fit in there if you put the leather piece in there first. And then I will use the actual braided steel cable to kind of set that leather piece. I'll pull on both sides of it to set that leather piece in there. I'll pull that tight. I always want to make sure, and I didn't do this right, but I always want to make sure that the actual bow press is on the side of the bow that the rest is on. You get a little bit more clearance. You don't have to deal with your cable slide. So what I do then is I'll set to make sure that the press is in the center of the bow, right around the grip. You want that anyway. On most presses you want the grip to be in the center of the press. And so I will kind of guesstimate where it's going to be at. As long as you get it close, you're doing good. So about right there. And then I will come over here and I'll adjust, and I'll see that where I need to put the other brace on one of the adjustable grommets. So I can tell where I'm at there. I'll go ahead and get this bow pressed, and we'll show you what I'm going to do to get it back in tune. So stay tuned. Alright, so as we discussed, I pressed the bow, put the twists in this cable here, bottom cable on your screen, put some twists in this cable, brought the camera on, and I'm going to show you the difference in the tuning now and why this bow is ready to shoot. Just a forewarning for all those that do have a Mathews Reason or any other bow. If you're going to use that Bowmaster's bow press, because of where the press actually sits in the bow and the way it presses the bow, you might have to remove your string stop, which I ended up having to remove. So it's really easy to remove these. You either twist them out, you loosen some set screws and pull them out, or however you do it. For the Mathews in specific, there were a couple set screws I had to loosen up. And I will put this back on after I show you what I've done. Okay. Now you will remember that the bow was out of tune. Alright. And you'll remember we discussed that the bow was actually long axle to axle and the brace height was a little short. Okay. So what I did is I put some twists in this cable. As you'll see, it comes around the front side, if you're holding the bow straight up, the front side of the cam, and by putting twists in it, I effectively turn the cam this way. Okay, and you can see now by doing that how that the cam orientation shows that the string is actually perfectly in tune as it splits that circle right there where my thumb is. Right there where my thumb is, and you can tell the bow is perfectly in tune. So we have got the cam orientation, but what about the other things we discussed? In specific, what about the axle to axle length, the brace height? So let's measure the brace height. As you remember, we discussed that I believe that those things would right themselves when I got the cam in tune, if I got the cam in tune the right way. Because it was long axle to axle, I didn't want to loosen one of the cables to bring the cam around. Remember, the cables go onto either side of your cam, not your idler wheel, your cam. And if you loosen one, when your axle to axle length is long, if you loosen one to bring that cam around, which you could have done to got that circle in tune, to get the cable to split that circle on the tuning mark on the cam, you would have actually in effect lengthened the axle to axle length again. So you need to make sure you put twists in or take twists out of the right cable. And it's really easy to do that. It's just a matter of common sense. But we made sure we put twists in the right cable, and so let's measure our axle to axle length right now. And you'll have to take my word at this. But indeed, we are right at 32 inches, which is where this bow is supposed to be. So now let's measure our brace height. Our brace height should be 6.5 inches. And indeed, we are right at 6.5 inches. So our axle to axle length is correct, our brace height is correct, and the cam orientation is in tune. So I believe this bow is ready to shoot, but thanks for watching. We'll get to a draw test all that stuff, getting it set up, getting the arrow rest placed on, getting everything lined out and tuned up for you in further videos. But for part 4 of the series, you've seen how we can press the bow with the Bowmaster bow press. Remember, that bow press is very good for solid limb bows. Very safe bow press. I really like using it as well. One thing I did forget to mention, anytime you're going to press your bow, follow your manufacturer's guidelines of how many limb bolts or how many turns you need to loosen the limb bolts. You don't want this bow on full weight and then go try to press the bow. Not a good idea. You want to loosen it to usually the lowest weight that you can loosen it to, loosen the limb bolts to, and that's just a matter of turning the limb bolts counterclockwise. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Follow that principle. But loosening the limb bolts and pressing the bow when they're loosened, it reduces the stress on the limbs as well. It makes for a much easier press. Anyway, that aside, we've pressed this bow. We've got cables put in the twists put in the cables, and it appears that the bow is in tune. So we will go about setting up a rest on it, making sure that the arrow is all in line, setting up a knocking point, putting on a peep sight, things of that nature, and then we'll get to shooting this bow. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like, comment, do whatever you want to. Keep it clean on the comment lines, and we'll see you in future videos. Thanks for watching.